Hi there, folks. This is Adam with 8 Badge Gaming coming to you with a new deck tech for a new week. As you can see up on your screens here now, we are going to be teching the Lapras Waterbox deck. This is the deck that received the popular vote from our poll from last week, so let's go ahead and dive on into it. Now, this is a deck that has cropped up over the past few weeks and has actually been showing some top 64 finishes and even potentially above on some of the various regionals that have been held throughout the world right now. Now, starting off in our Pokemon itself here, we are running a 2 of Tapu Lele GX, obviously to be able to go get our supporters via Wonder Tag, and also to occasionally be an attacker with his Energy Drive. Now, this is a Pokemon that's being included usually at least as a one of in almost every single deck in Standard because of the ability for it to tutor any supporter out of your deck with the Wonder Tag ability. And it can also be an attacker in just about every deck as well via the Energy Drive attack that you see here. Now, we will not be using the Tapu Cure GX in this deck whatsoever, where we're only running basic water energies, but the Energy Drive is still a possibility. With that said, we're running a 3 of Lapras GX. I do apologize that we have it split across the regular and the full art here. That's all I had on the account. But with the Lapras GX, it's 190 HP basic Pokemon. It has 3 attacks, including its GX. Its first is Collect, which is a single water energy, and it will let you draw 3 cards. Now, that can occasionally come in handy if you have a bit of a slower start. Being able to collect on your first attack to just put yourself up cards can be pretty strong overall. But the main purpose that we're running Lapras in this water deck is its Blizzard Burn attack. Now, this is similar to the Knuckle Impact on a Buzzwole. It's a 3 energy, 160 damage attack, and this Pokemon can't attack during the next turn. Now, we'll show you in just a few moments how we get around this using the Manaphy EX, but we will first cover the Ice Beam GX, which is double water and a generic for 100 damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed, meaning that they won't be able to retreat, they won't be able to attack. It would force your opponent to use, say, a Guzma or similar effect to get their Pokemon out of the active. Now, that can be good for us if we're able to, say, Ice Beam, lock down their damaged Pokemon into the active, and then do a Blizzard Burn for KO. Now, the main reason that we're using Lapras is the combination of the Max Elixirs and the Aqua Patches, but it also leads us into our Manaphy EXs. And Manaphy EX we're running primarily for its Aqua Tube ability. Now, its Aqua Tube ability reads, each of your Pokemon that has any water energy attached to it has no retreat cost. So this is how we're getting around the Lapras Blizzard Burn attack, forcing them to not be able to attack on the following turn, because we still do have the ability to retreat. So what we're looking to go for is 2 Laprases, both suited up with 3 energy, and being able to Blizzard Burn, then on the following turn retreat into the secondary Lapras and follow up with another Blizzard Burn right away. Now, this is made possible by that Aqua Tube ability. So the things that we do want to avoid are going to be things like the Garbodor that can shut down abilities, or people taking out our Manaphy EXs. Now that is why we are running them as a 2 of, to make sure that we do have the consistency in getting them in case one of them is prized, or in case we do get one of these KO'd. Next up in our Pokemon is a 2-2 line of Remoraid and Octillery. Now we're using the Ion Pool Remoraid as just a best in slot. There's no Remoraids that have more than 60 HP in Standard right now, and having an ability that, or rather an attack that could come into play is going to be more useful than the other Remoraids, such as the Ion Pool being able to discard stadiums. Now we are using the 2 of Octillery for the draw support primarily. So its ability Abyssal Hand reads, once during your turn before you attack, you may draw cards until you have 5 cards in hand. Now this is a deck like Buzzwole where it's trying to empty its hand as quickly as possible, and there is the chance for this Pokemon to attack in this particular deck. Now that's not very common with most decks running Octillery because they're not running water energy, but where this is running 13 total water energy, you could quite possibly get a Hug off where you're able to deal 40 and your opponent's Pokemon can't retreat during the next turn. Now, next up, we are running a 1 of Volcanion Prism Star. Now, we're using this for a couple of different reasons. Now, first off, it's 160 HP basic Pokemon. That's not an EX or GX, so it's going to be hard for them to KO this within a single shot. Generally, this is going to be a double shot KO. Next up, we have its ability of Jet Geyser, which is once during your turn, before you attack, you may discard a water energy from your hand, and if you do, your opponent switches their active Pokemon with one of their benched Pokemon. Now this is going to be good if our opponent only has 1 or 2 benched Pokemon, or they're trying to protect a Pokemon they're looking to evolve, or they've retreated a damaged Pokemon to their bench, and they don't have anything else that they want to force up. But being able to switch up your opponent's active and benched is going to be pretty applicable in some games. But we're also looking to get the water energy into our discard for the Aqua Patches, which we'll get to in a moment. Now, with the attack on this Volcanion Prism Star, we have it as a Sonoblast. And Sonoblast is a triple water energy attack, and it deals 100 damage. But it also deals 20 damage to each of your opponent's benched Pokemon, so it does hit for a decent chunk itself, and then it does put a little bit of spread damage on your opponent's bench. Now, this is also going to be great because the Blizzard Burn hitting for 160 isn't always going to be quite a KO. If we have a Blizzard Burn with a Choice Band, we're looking at 190 tops, and then we're looking at decks like Lycanroc and Zoroark and Lucario and all those kind of fun decks that have 210 HP that will be dodging a one-shot KO. But a single Sonoblast helps fix those numbers. Being able to put 20 damage in all of your opponent's bench Pokemon will force those 210 HP Pokemon down to 190, which is going to be one-shottable by the Lapras. Now that covers our Pokemon within the deck, so we're going to go ahead and dive now into our trainers. Now, as mentioned previously, we are running a 4 of Aqua Patch in this deck, and Aqua Patch is an item that lets you attach a water energy from your discard to one of your benched water Pokemon. Now, where all of our Pokemon are water except for the Tapu Lele, this will essentially let you put an Aqua Patch, or rather use Aqua Patch to put an energy from your discard onto any one of your Pokemon. Now, this will be great with the various discard effects that we have, either through Sycamore or Ultra Ball, or even through Volcanion Prism Star's ability to let us pitch energy to the discard that we can then use Aqua Patches to fuel up onto our Pokemon. Now, next up we are running a 2 of Energy Switch, which is an item that allows you to move a basic energy from one of your Pokemon to another one of your Pokemon. Now, this is going to be applicable because an energy switch can allow you to put a Pokemon up onto one of your water Pokemon that might have been promoted to an active, say either through a Lysander effect off of a Lycanroc evolution, or more popularly through a Guzma, and then be able to retreat it as long as you have a Manaphy in play. Now, this can also be great for getting that last energy up onto your now active Lapras to make sure that you can actually do your Blizzard Burn attacks. Next up, we're running a 1 of Field Blower, which is going to let you choose up to 2 in any combination of Pokemon Tool cards or Stadium cards in play, yours and your opponent's, and discard them. So this will let you clear off things like float stones that your opponents are going to be able to use to retreat your Pokemon easily. It'll let you clear out any negative stadiums that you might have to deal with, or stadiums that are benefiting just your opponent. Being able to knock out something like a Mount Coronet against a Duskmane deck, knock out a Parallel City that someone's put down against you, etc. is going to be extremely strong. Next up, we have our 4 of Max Elixir. Now, where this deck is running 13 basic water energy, we should have some decent consistency of hitting on the Max Elixirs here. And Max Elixir lets you look at the top 6 cards of your deck and attach a basic energy card that you find there to a basic Pokemon on your bench. Then you shuffle the other cards back into your deck. You're going to be able to use this to fuel up those Laprases as quickly as possible to make sure that they can do that Blizzard Burn attack. Finally, in our regular items, before we get into our supporters and Pokemon tools, we have our 4 of Ultra Ball. Now again, as always, this is a very common card across all decks in Standard, because it's going to let you discard 2 cards from your hand in addition to the Ultra Ball, and search your deck for any Pokemon, put it into your hand. This can let you go get a Tapu Lele to get a draw supporter. It can let you get any of the missing pieces that you might need to set up your Blizzard Burn chains. So either a second Lapras, your Manaphy, or even your first Lapras, if case may be. Or it can even be used to let you go get things like your Octillery to make sure that you can get your draw support going. Moving on into our stadiums, we have a 3 of Brooklet Hill, because this is going to let us tutor just about any Pokemon out of our deck onto our bench, because it lets us, during our turn, once per turn, tutor either a basic water or basic fighting Pokemon out of our deck onto our bench. Now, our opponents do get to use this too, so against decks like Buzzwole, it may either get a card stuck in their hand or just give them some additional functionality here of being able to go tutor their own Pokemon. But overall, a lot of decks aren't going to be able to use the Brooklet Hills. Next up, we are moving into our supporters. Now, with this deck, we are running a 3 of Cynthia, which lets you shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6 cards. This is going to be useful if you have any of the key pieces that you need in your hand at the time, and you don't want to discard them, but you do need to refresh your hand. Cynthia is going to be a key card for that, and just make sure that you don't actually lose any of your cards to the discard at the time. Then we have a 4 of Guzma, which is going to let you switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with their active Pokemon. And if you do, you switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. Now, this is going to let you force up something that might not have been one-shotted by a Blizzard Burn there, for you to be able to continue to knock it out with just a secondary attack. Now, Guzma is going to be a strong card for us overall, because it will hopefully let us disrupt any of our opponent's setups for any decks that do require evolutions, or let us, say, put up a Buzzwole that someone's invested in, and just attach some energy, Choice Band or Lapras, and take a one-shot KO. Next up, we are running a 2 of N, which reads each player shuffles his or her hand into her deck. Then each player draws cards equal to the remaining prize cards. Now, this is going to be great if our opponent gets ahead early on, be able to shut them down, and we don't really care about it so much if we put ourselves down to a low amount of cards in hand, because generally we're trying to have that auxiliary draw support via the Abyssal Hand to keep our hand full as long as possible. Finally, in our draw supporters, we have our Professor Sycamores as a 4 of. Now, Professor Sycamore lets you discard your hand and draw 7 cards, and this is going to be useful to get some of the water energy to your discard while still supplying you with a good number of cards as a follow-up. So this will help enable your Aqua Patches at the same time that it's filling your hand. Finally, in our tools, we have a 4 of Choice Band, and that is it. We're not running any float stones with this deck, as Manaphy is essentially going to act as our float stones here. But Choice Band itself will let you attach this to any one of your Pokemon, and the attacks of this Pokemon that this card is attached to will deal 30 more damage to your opponent's active GXs and EXs. So it will help us towards that one-shot capability. Finally, rounding off the deck, we are running a 13 basic water energy to be hit between our max elixirs, our aqua patches, and to be discarded to things like the Volcanion Prism. So overall, this deck looks like it's going to try to set up consistently for one-shots as often as possible, occasionally doing a little bit of softening of your opponent's benches via the Volcanion Prism Star, and just try to keep his hand full with the auxiliaries. I think this deck should hopefully be pretty consistent, as it's fairly straightforward. We're running a lot of various 3-ofs and 4-ofs to make sure that we have the consistency of hitting the cards that we need, and I'm hoping that the decks will be, or rather the games with this deck will be enjoyable to say the least. Now, with that said, that does actually clue up our deck tech today for the Lapras Waterbox deck. I do hope, as always, that you enjoyed the video. We always appreciate your viewership here at 8Badge Gaming, and we hope that you tune in for the actual gameplay videos. With that said, this is Adam at 8Badge Gaming, signing off.